going on, everybody? It's me, DisBearity here. I wanted to discuss what my favorite Total War games before the start of 2023. So let's go ahead and jump on into this list right here. So we're going to start out with Rome Total War. So as you guys know, Rome Total War is a game that I've been enjoying since I was a little kid. Just playing as the Roman legions was freakishly amazing. My favorite faction to play as in the original Rome Total War was definitely the House of Julii, especially in the later game when I would normally get the peasants to revolt against the Senate or whatever I do. And so when the peasants revolt, every rebel that's on the map, at least this is what happened to me, every rebel on the map became my army or my ally or whatnot. And there was some pretty strange armies with the rebels there, but just painting the map red with House Julii was really, really fun. Another one of my favorite campaigns of Rome Total War was that I was playing as Carthage, and I was doing my own little version of the Punic Wars. I didn't even know what the Punic Wars at the time was until I did a little bit of history digging. So what I did was I had attacked through Sicily and landed onto the shores of Rome. And once I landed onto the shores of Rome, I think I had about five generals of Carthaginians ready to attack the SPQR. And so I made an attack on the SPQR, and when that attack happened, the game was like, your generals might not make it because I think back then that was considered as a CPU limitation kind of thing because Rome Total War ran on a single core processor, and so I was like, damn, I can't, I'm not going to win this fight because the SPQR, they're strong. This is after the Marian reforms, and then towards the end of the battle, the game was like, your reinforcements have arrived. I was like, oh my god, they're here, they're very here, and so I won that battle and I was able to take Rome, and that was one of my favorite campaigns to do. I mean, just playing Rome Total War within the Roman era is one of the probably the most funnest things to ever, do. Another faction I used to play too was the Seleucid Empire. The Seleucid Empire is really fun as well. I really enjoyed them and had a lot of big blast playing them, honestly, because they also got their own like little version of Roman Legionnaires, which is pretty cool in my opinion. But again, Rome Total War, which is something that like you have to experience at least once or twice in your life, because it's to me, I think that's actually really everyone's first Total War. And if you like Rome Total War or just the Roman era in general, this is Rome Total War is definitely a really fun pick. I mean, I think everybody should play Rome Total War when you guys get the chance. Now, another Total War game that gives you fond memories would definitely have to be Empire Total War. So the only reason why Empire Total War gives me fond memories is because when I first got the game, my friend had gifted it to me on Steam. I think it was like my second Steam game ever, and the game ran horrible because back then I didn't know too much about computers. All I had was I think I had a computer that had like a Dell Pentium 4 processor in it, and I think I had an Nvidia Quadro Q6600. And apparently that graphics card came out way back in 2004. So imagine a GPU that came out 2004 playing on a 2009 game, and that was a different story there back then. And so I didn't really get to experience Empire Total War up until at least 2012. That is when I started to build my own computer and started to learn everything about computers. And I basically got out of the 15 FPS realm and started playing like a champ. So when I started playing as in Empire Total War, I started playing as Great Britain or British, however you want to call them. And I had a blast, taking over Europe, pushing Europe back, and then also becoming my own, doing the whole colony system while going to the Americas. And that whole theater system in Empire Total War was honestly pretty freaking unique because of the simple fact that you go, it takes you several months, 6 months, I guess, to travel across the ocean and to get to the new world. And then once you get to the new world, you get to fight the Native Americans that are there. And that was a really cool experience. But the majority of my time spent in Empire Total War was back in the multiplayer. I used to be a mad lad within the multiplayer community back then. You probably maybe see me once or twice. I went by the name of Strategy Roll Gaming or even Space and Distortion, and I had a huge amount of fun playing against certain people in Empire Total War. Me and my friends used to always do battles where we either do 2v2s or 1v1s where we'll play as the Native Americans and we'll go against the European factions in multiplayer. And sometimes, as you will know, the Europeans do fairly better versus the Native Americans. But if you built the Native Americans a certain way, oh man, you would wreck shop against the Europeans. If you don't believe me, hey, I can show you my stats right now. I feel like if anybody wants to get into the Total War genre in general, Empire Total War might be a great start because it bridges what was old and also what was new or coming out to be within the Total War series into what we have now. So I feel like that once you guys get that kind of experience, especially if you can find it on the cheap, then you'll definitely appreciate the Total War series a lot more. Another one of my favorite Total War games, which honestly bridges between the old Total War and new Total War, is definitely Shogun II Total War. So Shogun II Total War, man, I put many, many hours into this game. How many hours did I put into this game actually? From what it looks like, I put basically over a little bit over 200 hours into the game. And I think this is when around time when I actually again started to have a great computer to play these Total War games. And this is probably, I think, a little bit before the time Rome 2 came out. We're going to speak on that a little bit later. But back to Shogun Total War 2. This game is amazing. It's amazing to me because first off, I love Japanese history. I love everything about Japan, learning about the samurai, learning about the isolation, learning about the different periods of Japan. And so that's been really fun for me. And when playing Total War Shogun 2, man, it's an experience, especially when playing as one of my favorite clans, which is the Tokugawa clan, and just being the one to be like where every like having every faction come after you towards the end if you're becoming too strong was like the greatest freaking part of the game. I mean, it made it hard though. It made it super hard because you're getting attacked from all sides, but if you were able to defend all those sides, then man, you could be the conqueror of Japan. And then when it came to like buying the DLC for the game, well, it's really new. I was like, man, I wonder if there's ever going to be any type of you know gunfire into the game. They added the Ottawa clan, which is really cool. They were the ones who I think who can become Christians or whatnot, and they get gunfire and stuff. And that was really cool in order to get access to because a lot of the other factions in Shogun 2 did not have access to that from what my memory serves. And then Total War Shogun 2 had various DLC. I think the main one was Rise of the Samurai, I believe, and then because that was like an earlier period of Japan. Then another one was Fall of the Samurai, which is the major one, which is they actually turned Fall of the Samurai into a Total War Saga game because it is or it does feel like its own game. And then when it came to the multiplayer of Shogun 2 and Fall of the Samurai, it was like you're able to choose your army between either regular Shogun 2 and Fall of the Samurai. What made it very those two like things unique in the multiplayer aspect was that if you were playing as a Shogun 2 faction, you're going to be very basically lacking behind because you don't have, it's basically bows versus guys with guns who have like, you know, over 200 range, like, yeah, basically have over 200 range that can kill you or kill the majority of your troops. So it's like a challenge in order to beat people who have the access to Fall of the Samurai. And, I had both armies of Fall of the Samurai and Shogun 2. So it was like, every once in a while, just flip flopping back and forth made the game pretty interesting. But just taking the time period and incorporating it into Total War was just amazing. And then not only talk about that because I forgot to talk about this with Empire Total War was the naval combat. The naval combat was like I guess the best experience in any Total War. Well, one of the two best experiences between Empire and Shogun 2. And that was really cool to see these games have naval combat as well, especially when like naval combat could be really rare, but at least it was there as a kind of like a side deal, and it was pretty cool. And I mean, I loved it honestly, and I feel like naval combat should always be a part of Total War, no matter how like if they don't want to incorporate it anywhere. I mean, I don't know. I feel like as in recent Total War, especially with like Three Kingdoms, without naval combat, it just doesn't feel. It feels weird, basically. And I understand that they don't want to dump resources into that, but hey, you chose a period. If it deals with naval, you got to add it in. That's just my opinion. But yeah, Shogun 2, definitely one of my favorite Total War games to play. So one Total War game that did catch my eye that I'm actually really surprised about was Total War Troy. Now a lot of people think that Total War Troy was a failure. Hey, it wasn't a failure to me. I enjoyed Total War Troy and I had a blast while playing it. I played it. I did I did an Odysseus playthrough and I also did a Memnon playthrough, and both those playthroughs were freakishly amazing. Now the only part that I did not like was the whole traveling across the Aegean because that ocean was pretty freaking huge, and taking several turns to get to the other side of the ocean was a challenge. What gave the game more variety was definitely the Mythos edition. The Mythos was like adding in this whole fantasy kind of deal to it as well, where you get mythical creatures and monsters, and that was really fun too. So to me, Total War Troy felt like that bridge between like full fledged game, but it was a saga game at the same time. And the new mechanics on how to get resources and also use the resources was vastly different as well. Like you needed food. You couldn't just recruit all your best units. You have to get units to trade. The trading was actually abundant because of the fact that if you wanted gold or bronze, yes, you have to trade for those resources, or you have to do certain missions. And then on top of that, if you want to get to buff your army, then you will need to pray to each god whenever you get the chance to give your army certain buffs. And that was a really unique experience and pretty cool. And my playthrough, I enjoyed the Mendon playthrough because Mendon playthrough plays like you're basically a horde faction. In order for you to recruit units, you have to get your units from Egypt or from places like Thebes and stuff. And that was a really cool aspect. So then I also was able to get Cerberus as one of my main creatures in my army. Oh boy, Cerberus, whew, he was a beast, dude. I like that was the best aspect to me was playing was using those mythological creatures and using them to my advantage. And also, if I recall, I also was able to recruit what do you call spirit warriors? I forgot what they're called, but I was able to recruit them, and they're able to come under my wing, and that was just an experience. I feel like that a lot of people just write off Total War Troy because it's not a mainline game or what, and I feel like y'all need to quit with that crap because to me, Total War Troy was an amazing experience, and I feel like anybody should definitely give that game a chance. Like and plus it's beautiful. It looks great. They captured the aesthetic really well, and the game just needs more of a chance. My personal opinion. Now, if you made it this far into the video, if you haven't already, definitely consider liking and subscribe if you enjoyed this video thus far. Now, another Total War game, which I really do love the history and aesthetic for, is Total War Three Kingdoms. Now, I'm gonna get this right off the bat. I really feel sad for Total War Three Kingdoms because this was actually a really grand experience in the newish Total War titles because of the way how there are new mechanics to the game and how the mechanics do change, especially like a new with the whole new diplomacy system. It's probably the best diplomacy system that a Total War game has ever had. Now, it sucks that CA decided to drop the ball and to say we're stopping supporting Total War Three Kingdoms because they couldn't fix some mistakes to it. So they just decided to say, hey, screw it, we're gonna remake it, I guess, or reboot it into Total War Three Kingdoms 2 or something of the sort. And they just originally dropped, I guess, the original. Total War Kingdoms though is a fun game in my eyes because, like I said, it bridged the corporation, the new Total War games plus with Warhammer Total War, as in with the full fantasy aspect. So, as you guys know, within the game, there's two types of aspects that you can choose for. You can choose the game to be a romancing, or you choose the game to be historical. So, if you choose like the romancing option, then that means that your generals will go out there solo and they'll solo duke it out with the enemy generals, and whoever wins the battle, then that means the other enemy's army would like be demoralized or something of the sort. And that's really cool because I felt like honestly feel like a Dynasty Warriors kind of deal here, and it's really cool. And then historical is what you would know. It's just historical, and you'll go through the historical text while playing through the game, and just do like a normal Total War playthrough. And you know, even now in today's standard, like I'm still relearning Total War Three Kingdoms because it is definitely a different experience from the Total War games that we all love and know. Um, just relearning like how to like do researching, relearning how to like do the armies and provinces. It's still brand new, it's still weird to me, even after putting in 100 hours into it. But I'm still having a blast with it and enjoying it. Now there isn't a lot of unit variety, and they tried to do that with the DLC, but it was some of the DLC again fell flat because the game, if I recall, the game came out to have major sales. It's just the DLC wasn't like the most grandest DLC. So yeah, a lot of it fell flat because it's an historical title. When you play or have an historical title, you're not going to make a lot of money from it, and you'll probably say like, well, Spirit, what do you mean for that? Well, there's not a lot of unit variety versus like the Total War Warhammer series where you can choose like between different types of fantasy armies and stuff like that. You kind of get what I'm saying. And so, with Total War Three Kingdoms, just playing as people like Cao, Lu Hong, Sun Tzu, even the yellow turbans like He Yi, Gong Du, or Hong Shou. I know I probably butchered a lot of these guys here, but you kind of get what I'm saying here. So just playing these different leaders is a really cool experience, and I feel like that if you're a person that's really into New Age Total War, then Three Kingdoms might be the game definitely for you. I mean, it's a great standalone game, and I feel like no one shouldn't write it off. So this next Total War game that I'm going to speak about had a lot of controversy when it came out on release, but this is also still one of my favorite Total Wars to play from time to time. And this is Rome 2 Total War. So Rome 2 Total War when it came out was a buggy mess. It was attacked, drawn out, and it just wasn't the greatest Total War experience, especially when it kind of came to like performance. Because when people thought of Rome 2, they thought this was going to be the more so of the same Rome Total War, except more refined, quality of life fixes, so on and so forth. And what we got was I mean, we got a game, but it wasn't what we were thinking of. Especially one of the major things that they took away from Rome 2 Total War was the family tree that people loved about Rome Total War because you got a little bit more closer to your faction that you were playing as. I myself back then, I played a tremendous amount of Rome 2, but that was mostly within the multiplayer section. Because when I would try to play the single player portion back then, especially on my computer, I think back then I had a decent computer to play it, but it wasn't like the greatest. So like the campaign played at like 45, 30 FPS. It was really bad. Like it was, let's just say like if you were to take away the clouds, the game would run fine for me. But with the clouds there, in the campaign map, the game would run horrible. So that was kind of a bit of a situation for me. So I kind of steered away from the campaign. But I came back to the campaign years later and enjoyed it while playing either as Rome or I definitely play as Carthage. But Carthage is a challenge though because you get a good amount of factions that try to attack you from all sides, and it becomes a challenge there. But again, I had a fun time while playing Rome 2. But yeah, it's just for me back then it was very performance issues that I couldn't really enjoy the game like I wanted to until I got a better PC years later. Now, the multiplayer side of things, the multiplayer is hella fun. I think I did like several multiplayer online battles, and I was actually I would consider myself fairly pretty good in Rome 2 Total War in the multiplayer spectrum. But once Total War Warhammer came out, I kind of actually, matter of fact, no. It was actually the performance of Rome 2 which made me stop playing it because it started to get more and more buggy, especially with like certain battles, certain things just becoming loading really slow. I think at one point the game was running really fine for me. Then they did an update, and the update basically made my game or my computer sluggish. I want to just say the game instead, though. And so that steered me away from Total War because then I skipped Total War Attila. I didn't even know Total War Attila released or whatnot because I thought that was just like an expansion for Rome 2. So I just kind of swayed it away. And then Warhammer Total War came out. Now I didn't even know Warhammer Total War was coming out because a friend of mine had gifted me the game. It was like, "Yo, here goes the game for release." I was like, "Oh wow, what is this?" So anywho, Rome 2 was again, it was a fun experience while playing it and while getting versed into the multiplayer, and I had a quite an enjoyable time. Now, the closest video off here, we're going to be talking about one series which I actually really have been enjoying since my friend gifted me the first one. This is the Total War Warhammer series. Now, this series here has been a whirlwind for me because I had always knew what Warhammer was, but I just never really got into it until I started playing Total War Warhammer. This game got me into the series, and I just fell in love with it. My favorite faction, of course, is the Empire, followed by Khorne, or better yet, Scarbrand, or Valkyrie the Bloody, and also by Cat Day. So these factions here was like a dream come true when finally being able to play all three of them together. So before that, though, once I was playing Total War Warhammer, like I said, I fell in love with it. I played it to death, right? And I was like, okay, game two's coming out. They're coming out with Warhammer Total War 2, and that's going to add in the Dark Elves, High Elves, Skaven, and also the Lizard Man. And that was a really cool experience to see those guys come into the roster. And then I was like, man, it'll be really great for when Total War Warhammer 3 comes out if they add in Cat Day. Because originally, apparently, Cat Day wasn't even going to be part of the roster. And so then they decided, I guess the budget or the fame of the game series was so popular that they're like, okay, we're going to bring in Grand Cat Day, Kiss Sleep, all these other guys. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like it's a dream come true. My only like downside that I wish that they would bring in was Arabi, and I feel like they're kind of like not they're knocking them out of the ballpark. But they should add an Arabi, but that's besides the point. Um, it's just Total War Warhammer 3 is an amazing experience because you're seeing humans fight against orcs or fighting against the darkest creatures of the world is insane to me. And then you kicking them back to where they came from. That is such an experience. That's what I love about Total War Warhammer. And like being able to cast spells in Total War, that's like a not that's a thing that I would never have thought of in a million years. Just seeing, oh wow, I can cast a spell that can come from the sky, come from the side, cause poisons. I'm like, that's just crazy. And I'm just glad to be alive to share that experience, you know, with other people and stuff. And then my friends started getting into, Warhammer, or they've been into Warhammer, but they started getting more into Total War because of this. And then on top of that, because I love Warhammer Total War so much, I started diving into the 40k lore, and I fell in love with the 40k universe as well, and it kind of just snowballed from there. But as you see here, when you start getting like into these kind of games and projects and stuff, man, you just go passion for them, and that's usually what happens, guys. And that's why I wanted to share this with you guys for the beginning of the year 2023. That this is why I love to play video games and love the Total War series as a whole. Just sharing the experience with you all, my community, means a lot to me, and just hopefully in the future we can share it all together. If you guys enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. Also, make sure to hit the notification bell down below to be notified on when the next video or any future videos is coming out. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for your support and all what you guys do. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace out. Much love, everybody. Have a good one, y'all. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like and also hit the bell notification down below. Thanks for watching.